Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and this is the Daily Blob, where we say, oh my golly, I didn't realize how much stupider this crap can get. Now, I have been getting some pushback from the viewers talking about these anti-China policies being racist. They're like, Eli, these anti-China policies aren't racist. Don't you understand what racism is? You're just using a dog whistle. You can only be racist towards people. But anywho, the anti-Chinese racism in the United States is just continuing to get worse. Why is it worse today than it was yesterday? Because yesterday it was worse than the day before. Why will the anti-China policies be even worse tomorrow? Because they're worse today. Again, back with Obama, Nobel Peace Prize winner, did the Pacific pivot literally as a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. He used that knowledge, that wisdom he had to point the entire U.S. military establishment at China. Again, then under the Democrats, we had something called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Again, specifically trying to economically isolate China. The idea was it was going to create a free trade zone in the Pacific, but China was not allowed to join initially because we didn't want to hear what the hell they had to say. Right? Basically, we were going to create it, and then after it was created, they would be allowed to join, essentially as a lesser member. Again, we've seen these things of the whole AI diffusion thing. Oh my golly, the China man can't get our AI because, I don't know, AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons or some social horse crap, right? And it's just day after day after day. China bad, China bad, China bad, China bad. Why is China bad? Look, I'm an American. I'm not really sure why China is bad. I mean, let's see. Why is China bad? So our spy planes are essentially constantly flying along the Chinese coastline in order to see what's going on in China. I guess that's a reason that China's bad. We have an X-band radar system. Is it still up and running? Anyways, that was in South Korea. So the X-band radar system, that was going to penetrate deeply into China. So that was another reason that China was bad. So we're doing freedom of navigation, missions with our aircraft carrier groups, basically sailing right, in front of the coast of China. So I guess that's a reason that China's bad. I guess that's all the reason we need. China's bad because we think China's bad. Again, you'll notice their spy plane. Again, think about this for a second. Again, I don't know what happened to that balloon. Again, there was a spy balloon floated over the U.S. Again, not saying that was a good thing, but like a certain side of history loses their mind over one spy balloon. A spy balloon flies over on the United States, loses their mind. But again, day after day after day, we have our intelligence gathering planes, we have our radar systems, we have our satellite systems. Again, what would the United States do if China sent an aircraft carrier group into the Gulf of Mexico for freedom of navigation, proving freedom of navigation? I think we might have a wee bit of a heart attack over that one. Anywho, but we're told why is China bad? Because they're selling us products too inexpensively. Don't you understand? The poor people in the United States can't afford a television. That is ridiculous. That is evil. Do you know the true evil of the Chinaman? They're trying to sell electric vehicles to poor people in the United States for an amount of money that they can afford. Don't you know our poor people would rather walk, whether it's rainy or snowy or blistering hot. Our poor people would rather walk than drive a Chinese car. Anyways, again, this is just, fuck me. Like, I knew we weren't in a post-racist world. I grasped that we weren't in a post-racist world. Oh my golly. This stuff's coming back. So yeah, this is new U.S. State Department policy. New U.S. State Department policy right here on the website for the U.S. State Department. We're not looking at the Associated Press. press, whatever. We're not looking at CNN. We're not looking at MSNBC. We're going to the State Department. We're going to the State Department. Where the State Department, curiously enough, being run by Marco Rubio. That's kind of funny. Just going to put it on the table. That's kind of funny. Basically, it is documenting our racist federal policies in the United States. And yeah, it's pretty fucked up. New visa policies put America first, not China. Oh, wait. And now, when I first heard about this policy, again, I heard it from the Associated Press, heard it from CNN, so I thought they might be clickbaiting me a little bit. One of the big questions, again, with geopolitics or whatever else, is who do you support? And there's an issue with people that are in countries and they're members of parties, right? In Iraq, members of the Ba'athist Party, or in China, members of the CCP. Right? There's this whole question. Are they die-hard members of that party that believe everything that party believes? Or, on the other hand, is the only way to get advancement to be a member of the party? Ergo, they become a member of the party so that they can advance. Like, so is it they are true believers in the party, ergo they're a member of the party, and they advance in the party to solidify the party's hold on power? Or do they believe that their country needs to change, but the only way to get to a lever of change in the country is to become a party member and rise in the ranks of the party? And so that does become an interesting question. So I thought, again, there's been a whole thing with, again, anti-CCP propaganda in the United States and anti-Chinese military and the whole nine yards. So again, with this visa policy, I initially thought it was going to be members of the Chinese Communist Party or members or people that have some association with the military. And again, that gets squishy. That gets, that's a hard question. That's a hard question to parse. Don't worry, boys and girls. This is the Trump administration. Problem's never going to be that hard to parse. No, this is just anti-China. This is just anti-fucking China. Chinese suck. China man, go home. The Trump administration is literally telling China man to go home. So, U.S. State Department. Again, www.state.gov releases Office of the Spokesperson 2025-05 new visa policies. It's all here. Again, it's here too. It's still here. It's not like it was here a couple of days ago and got pulled. It's still here. Under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. State Department will work with the Department of Homeland Security to aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students. That is a quote. Will work with the Department of Homeland Security to aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students. Comma, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. So again, notice, they're not going to aggressively revoke visas for members of the Chinese Communist Party, including blah. No, they're going to revoke visas for Chinaman. And if Chinaman happens to be part of the CCP, that's just a cherry on top. Or studying in critical fields. What is a critical field? Why bother defining anything? It's the Trump administration. We will also revise visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applications from the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong. And so that is one very short, nasty-ass, evil fucking paragraph being pushed out by this god-awful administration. And again, do remember this administration has a lot of experience in business, predominantly bankrupting businesses the way he's going to be bankrupting our country. And now, again, the thing you might be thinking here, what does this have to do with technology, Eli? What does this have to do with technology? Because it's a scale thing. It's a scale thing. Again, one of the things, right, I do these conversations, I'm going to have talks today. Anyway, so I talk to the students or whatever. most Mondays. And, most of my students, they don't want to know about work. They want to know about jobs. Again, they don't want to do the tech work. They want a job in tech. They don't really care about the work of tech. One of the big things, again, I've been talking about for a while now, is, one, our economy had to reset anyway. Again, the 2008 economic crisis never ended, right? The recession ended. The crisis didn't stop. We are still in the 2008 economic disaster. And that basically has to unwind. At some point, it has to unwind. As I say, you can strap a rocket to a turkey, but that turkey ain't gonna fly. Why? Because flying means that you can land, preferably and survive. That turkey will hit the ground. That turkey in the ground will come back in contact, but it's not going to be a landing. And that's basically what we're dealing with the 2008 crisis, is just massive distortions in the financial markets. In order to fix those distortions in the financial markets, the government came in to just do extraordinary measures. They did not wind back those extraordinary measures. Then we had the COVID crisis, where they then just started printing money. And so we were already in this period of just crap showish, again, sometimes the skies just gotta fall. Sometimes the skies just gotta fall. And now we have this administration who are experts in bankruptcy, who are now trying to get the gold stamp of bankrupting the entire country. And so the issue is trying to get a lot of these viewers and they do these conversations. And the thing that I have to talk them through is, look, the macroeconomic forces that are going on right now are very concerning, right? 60+ thousand tech employees this year have already lost their jobs, right? What we say, Intel's laying off 20,000 people. Facebook is laying off people. Microsoft is laying off people. All these companies are laying off people. Even when supposedly they still say things are good. Things are so good, they're laying off people. Again, the housing market is starting to slide sideways, right? We got all these weird problems going on. And so the interesting thing with this is you sit here and you go, okay, well, so I get it. Eli hates the absolutely god-awful racist anti-China policies that the United States, both the Democrats and the Republicans have, right? They all have their white sheets in their closets. You never know when you might need your white sheets again. You're like, okay, I understand that the racism pisses Eli off, and I understand this whole anti-China policy pisses Eli off, but what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with the Daily Blob and me sitting here listening to this stuff, trying to learn about the world of technology? And again, for me, I don't really care about GPUs. Holy crap, I was just watching again Gamers Nexus again. Oh, people just sit there and they just look at charts. They have so many charts about GPUs. Anyways, but what does this have to do with the wider world, the technology world? Well, the interesting thing, again, is thinking about everything at scale, right? So when you think about China people, when you think about China people coming to the United States to go to college, I don't know, how many China people do you think there are? I mean, seriously, you're like, okay, well, that's really bad. We're going to kick China people out. But how many China people can there be? You know what the answer is? Boo, 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 boo. You know what the answer is? 277,000. No shit. 2023, 2024 year, which I guess is the latest year. They have everything documented. 277,000 Chinese students are studying in the United States right now. What the hell? And if you look at international tuition rates, so again, one of the weird things we have in the United States is when you go to state schools especially, you have the in-state tuition, you have the out-of-state tuition, and we have the FU tuition, which is the international students, right? In-state tuition is probably something you can afford with a little bit of debt. Out-of-state tuition is, wow, your mommy and daddy have big credit cards. And the international tuition rate is, oh, I guess your parents own some gold somewhere, right? So the international tuition rates are ridiculous. I think it says the average is $41,000 a year for international undergraduate tuition rates in the United States. So if you multiply 277,000 by 41,000, I think you get 11.5 billion, something along those lines. So again, when I keep talking about Trump, has a lot of experience with bankrupting businesses. And again, when I talk about the disaster with Ford, right? The Ford is our largest manufacturer in the United States, and they are currently having heart attacks because they can't get enough components. There's a lot of things that go into a Ford truck, even if they're manufacturing it, and they're having a heart attack, right? When I talk about Nvidia having a heart attack because they had to write down $5 billion in pure losses, and they're writing down another $15 billion in lost sales this year because of the racist policies towards China, right? There, you got the manufacturing component that Trump is going after. You have the engines of our economy that Trump is going after. Again, you got Nvidia there, $3 trillion company. Then you've got Apple, another $3 trillion company. Literally, he's talking about trying to put a 25% tariff on Apple. Not even like a 25% tariff on the countries that manufacture Apple product. No, he just wants to put a tariff on Apple itself. What? Anyways, then we see him going after Harvard, right? So he's going after Harvard, basically trying to destroy Harvard, trying to take away their ability to be able to enroll international students. So 1/3 of their student base are international students paying good money to be here. He wants to rip all that away. So he wants to destroy the industrial capacity of the United States. He wants to destroy the most valuable companies in the United States. He wants to destroy the bedrocks of our academic institutions in the United States. And again, if you look at this with the anti-China policy, trying to get rid of 277,000 Chinese students, we'll rip $11+ billion out of our education system. Before you get to anything else, and again, one of the things I want you to think about, again, when we talk about $1 million, if the average salary is $50,000 a year, $1 million is 20 man years. 20 people salary for 1 year. What is that? What do you wind up when you multiply out to 11.5 billion? Right? So you take away 277,000 students. That means these academic institutions no longer have a use for however many professors would teach 277,000 students. They no longer have a use for all of the facilities that would be used in order to support 277,000 students. They don't need janitors to clean the facilities that no longer need to exist. Blase, 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 blase. Destroying $11.5 billion in economic activity because he's having yet another fucking hissy fit on top of the God knows how many hissy fits he's had up until this point in time. So one thing to be looking at with this is going to cause, again, more economic shockwaves in the system. And I'll also remind you folks, when the dominoes fall, it takes a while for the dominoes to fall. Again, back in 2008 when Bear Stearns fell, boo-hoo. Thank God I don't have a damn thing to do with Bear Stearns. And then the property market started to fall. Well, I didn't over leverage to be in the property market. And then the people that supported the property market fell. And I'm like, well, it does suck to be them, but hey, if you wanna focus on a specific market, I mean, you gotta take what you take. And then the people that supported that fell, and the people that supported them fell, and then I was out of business. Because that's the whole thing with this, right? Because that's what a lot of people right now are saying. Like with the whole Trump idiocy, again, 145% tariffs, then it's 30% tariffs, and it's 20% tariffs, and it's 50% tariffs. Now he wants to put 50% tariffs on steel. Again, like whatever, whatever harebrained idea. And there's this whole thing, well, Eli, the American economy has not yet collapsed. It takes time. It takes time for one senile, old, bankrupt loser to destroy what generations have created. It's not going to take that much time, though. So anyways, if you're looking for a job out there, one of the things just to realize is $11+ billion in economic activity is trying to be destroyed essentially overnight. And so that's the jobs and the support and the people to support, the people that support, the people that support, the people support, the people support, and the whole 9 yards. And so this is going to cause more issues that way. Not only that, again, if I was an international student, if I was a student outside the United States, I wouldn't fucking touch the United States with a 20-foot pole at this point in time. Again, even if you like Trump, right? Even if you're was it Nigel Farage? Even if you're true red, I don't know. If you're a Nigel Farage supporter and you love Toblerone or whoever he is over in Hungary, and you love Trump, and you're like, "Rawr!" I mean, I still want to come here for university because again, at the blink of the eye, Trump can just like destroy all of your aspirations. Again, think about this like with Harvard, right? If he is actually able to remove the ability for Harvard to have international students, he didn't say that Harvard will lose all the Palestinian international students or Harvard will lose all the blue-haired international students. I mean, there are some dyed-in-the-wool robber barons in there. There are some dyed-in-the-wool, the next generation of Schiaparelli, pharma bros in there or whoever else. They're just being eliminated too. It's not personal. Go the fuck away, right? It's one of the things to be thinking about is not only do you have this attack against Harvard and then attack against the Chinese students, but they're really, on the world stage, it just puts out a massive amount of uncertainty, right? You're going to send your 18-year-old kid, right? You got all this money together, so your kid can afford to go to college wherever they want in the world. They have worked their asses off. God bless these kids. These kids work their asses off. Do you want to take the risk of coming to the United States, right? Your kid leaves, they come here, you put a tremendous amount of money on the table. There's a lot of trust to do that. And then to know this senile old bastard in the White House can fucking destroy your dreams just because he's having a fucking cranky day. How many folks are going to want to deal with that horse crap? So anyways, you got that on the whole economic side. Then the interesting thing, though, because again, one of the big things is, hey, Eli, I want to get into technology. I want to get into technology. How do I do that? And so what I tell a lot of you folks is actually go to college. I didn't used to be a big college supporter back in the day. I have my college degree, and as somebody with a college degree, I know the value of it. Never really thought about it, but I deal with you folks. Here's the difference. There's me and then there's you, right? There are the people that talk into the cameras and the people that watch the cameras. We're different folks. Anyways, I know the value of my college degree. If I had to go back and do it again, probably want to get my college degree. But here's the thing. For a lot of you folks out there, you don't know what the hell you want to do in life. And that's curious, right? So it's like if you take Louis Rossman. So Louis Rossman, soldering motherboards for Macs. And let's say he wanted to go off and, learn app development. Like he learned how to do management, he learned how to make money, he learned how to do this stuff. He realizes app development is the future, not soldering motherboards. So he wants to do that, right? So let's say he's not great at self-study. So he's talked about this. He's not great at something like self-study. So maybe going to a boot camp makes a lot of sense for him. He knows what he wants to do. He knows why he wants to do it. He has a plan for how he's going to implement his plan, I suppose, and the whole 9 yards, right? You take him. You put him into a boot camp, he's probably going to be successful. Yay, right? Here's the thing. You're not him either. Most of my viewers don't know what the hell they're doing. Again, I want to do pewters. Okay, so you want a job. What kind of work do you want to do? Work? Anyways. Pewters, Eli, pewters. I want to do like networking or app development or AI. And like, oh my God. You have a fucking clue. So one good thing about college is you get to go into an environment that's relatively structured and you get to be introduced to a lot of stuff. Now the education that you're going to get is probably going to be piss poor. Because, again, remember, whether it's Obama or Trump or Biden or Trump, they're not going to actually fix our education system. Improving the quality of our education system is never the point. So anyways, you're going to go there, and you're probably going to get a piss-poor education. But, wait for it. That piss-poor education is going to introduce you to a lot of different things. If you're going into technology, it'll introduce you to databases. So you'll be like, oh, wow, once I get done with my degree, I should really learn that. It'll introduce you to front-end development. You're like, wow, after I graduate, I should probably learn that. It'll introduce you to sysadmin. It'll introduce you to networking. It'll introduce you to all these things. And so hopefully, after 4 years on $100,000, you will then know enough about technology to come to somebody like me and be able to ask me a sensible goddamn question. So anyways, yeah. So college is useful for a lot of people. Again, especially if you want to go to computer science. Again, if you want to do coding, so if you want to do sysadmin work, if you want to do development, coding, Swift, C#, Python, you probably don't need to go to college. If you want to do networking, knock, that kind of stuff, security stuff, you probably don't need college. But I will say, for real, anyways, the harder stuff, computer science. Again, one of the things people misunderstand with computer science degrees is they look at the computer and they don't see the science part, right? The science part is very important, right? So if you really want to understand computers, if you want to get to the point that you can modify the kernel itself, create device drivers, that kind of thing, computer science makes a lot of sense. So anyways, here's the interesting thing, right? So you're thinking about getting your computer science degree, either at the undergraduate or the graduate level, and you're going to dive in at the 2025 school year. Here's the curious thing. Again, we start talking about scale. So you talk about 277,000 students. So out of the STEM programs in the United States, China folks make up 2% of the STEM students for undergraduate. So undergraduate BS degrees, they make up 2% of the entire student base. So imagine if 2% of the student base just disappears. Right? That can be a real issue. And again, depending on how that's measured geographically in the United States. If you're going to a computer science program in the middle of Idaho, you might not even know that the China people got kicked out. You'll be like, hey, did you hear China people got kicked out? No, I didn't hear that. Okay, let's go to class. Right? If you're in other places, you might have a lot more China people around. Again, think about it. You go program, you look at all the people that might look Asian. What if they all disappeared? And the thing to be thinking about, right, is again, with these institutions, with these organizations, they need resources. What happens when 2% of a particular group just disappears? Do they have enough resources to continue? What becomes even more interesting is that if you look at the graduate level, China folks in the graduate program, in STEM graduate programs in the United States, are 16% of the student body. Imagine if 16% of the STEM students basically just disappear overnight. And again, you might be sitting there, what the hell do I care? Right? I don't go to China Man for tutoring or whatever. But again, remember, when you go to a class of 30 people or 40 people or 5,000 people, right? Anyways, that class is resourced. All that ridiculous amount of money goes in order to be able to afford the classroom, in order to be able to afford the professor, in order to be able to afford the administrators, in order to be able to afford a whole bunch of other things. And so if you rip out, especially the graduate program, 16% of the student body for STEM, that may cause some real significant issues for your program. And so one of the practical things, it sounds horrible as fuck to say, but it's true. Racism, I'm not telling you it's a pretty shitty system, to be frank with you, but it's a system we have. So one of the things you might be thinking about, right, if you're in the United States, if you're going to a university that has catered to an Asian student body for a number of years, it also might be the time for you to get the fuck out. And the reason is because you don't want to be there when the school collapses. I've known people to be in schools that have gone bankrupt. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty thing. And again, one of the things to be thinking about, right? So we're in this weird cycle where the value of college education is become more and more questionable, right? Again, I just this afternoon, sometime after you watch this video, there's going to be an interview that's going to get published by the founder of a $2 billion cybersecurity company. Not only does he not give a damn about cybersecurity degrees, he also actually doesn't give a damn about college degrees at all. He literally states college degrees are no points on the resume. Anyways, so the interesting thing is it's highly questionable about the value of a college education at this point, right? Beyond that, we have the Trump administration trying to destroy the Department of Education. So one of the big things the Department of Education does is student loans and student financing and that kind of stuff. So there's a big question about whether student loans are still going to be going through for the 2025-2026 calendar year. And again, for a lot of people, if they don't get those loans, they don't go to school. Right? Then on top of that, you have the attack of the administration going after, like Harvard, going after the international students, which is going to put a massive question mark for a lot of international students about whether they want to come to the United States. On top of that, again, under the right-think doctrine of Heir Trump, basically, universities that do not toe the party line, not even toe the party line, toe his line, are looking at getting massive grant funding cuts. Again, whether you agree or disagree with the grant funding cuts, getting those cuts overnight is incredibly brutal. And then now on top of that, he's literally trying to evict 277,000 Chinese students, again, at about the speed that he tries to do everything. And so imagine those are all the macro forces that are currently hitting universities. And again, this is not that they overbuilt. They did not overbuild. They did not overpay for rock star professors, right? There's a lot of fuck ups universities have done, but these aren't really those fuck ups. These are the insanity coming from one senile old loser that's currently in the White House. And so one of the questions that has to be asked is, with those number of macro forces hammering the universities, and that is before we start seeing the real economic shocks that are going to be hitting. They are just going to be hitting. Will your university be able to survive that? It's a real question. It's a real. This isn't where you're like, oh, Eli's just going to throw out some clickbait. No, this is a real question. Can your university survive this snit show? And if you don't think it can survive this snit show, it might be time to transfer or just wrap everything up to get your damn degree. Again, one of the weird things in the United States, which is completely bizarre, is in the United States, if you have 116 credit hours, but you don't finish your degree, then you still don't have a degree, right? It's 120 credit hours, depending on what system. There's a credit hour system, a quarter credit hour system. Anyways, credit hour system, you need 120 credit hours generally to get a bachelor's degree. But that's the thing. If you get 116 credit hours, but you don't finish your degree, you don't have a degree. And that's the thing, again, like with the Trump administration going after the international students at the end of the school year for Harvard, again, showing how heartless and brutal and stupid and just nasty that creature is. Again, how many of those students have been working their ass off at Harvard, and all of a sudden they had to be worried about whether or not they were going to get their degree because, somebody was having a wine session in the Oval Office that particular day. And so that's a real question. Again, that's what you have to be thinking about with your risk tolerance, right? So if you're a senior right now, or or I guess you'd be a junior, you're going into your senior year, it might be like, well, I understand what Eli's saying, but I'm gonna bet this crap's gonna last another year. Right? That might be a reason. That might be a reasonable bet. What if you're a sophomore? Is it a reasonable bet that your institution will be able to survive 2 years? Or you're a freshman? Is it a reasonable bet to survive 3 years? If you haven't gone in yet, is it a reasonable bet that your institution will be able to survive 4 years? And again, we're not even through a year of Trump. Again, we're at like 180 days. We're at like 6. Are we at 6? No, we're not even 6 months. Right? So February, March, April, May. Fuck. We're at like 4. We're at 4.5 months of Trump. We have a long time to go. And that's one of the things that you have to be considering. I think on the larger scale, again, I think this is going to be devastating to the United States. Because the point of the United States is that you bring people in, you show them our way. Our way is so addictive. That's really what it is. The American system is addictive. They go back home. They want a little more of that shot of the American system. And then they modify their system to comport with ours. Right? Again, as I always say, you know, for empire, everybody talks about JFK. And there's like, yeah, the meanest, nastiest, strongest military force. And they're all like, yeah, the Navy SEALs. Oh, fuck the Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are fucking pansies. Give me 1,000 of those dorky ass pocket protector nerds getting shipped around the world, right? Teaching the world ESL, English as a second language, right? The Peace Corps, sending our young people, our hopeful, motivated young people around the world to teach people English. Because when people speak your language, you own them, right? If you look at cultures, if you look at societies, the one major unifying force is language. If somebody can't speak your language, you can't even have a fucking argument. You can't agree or disagree because you don't know what the other guy's saying, right? As soon as you get them speaking your language, you have now set up the game board, so they have to play the game basically by your rules, right? Again, by bringing people in, right? That's the thing, right? We're the melting pot. We're a bad melting pot. Again, we're a Kmart melting pot. The Teflon is coming off and the rest of it. We're a melting pot, right? And so the concern here is with Trump destroying that our ability to be a nexus for so many things. Again, whether it's the technology that gets developed, whether it's business processes that gets developed, whether it's the education systems to help develop other people, all of these things, he is fundamentally destroying our links with the rest of the world. And again, the important thing to understand with this, he is not building factories. He's not building warehouses. He's not building hospitals. He's not doubling the number of doctors we have. He's not pushing through innovative systems in our healthcare so that I can go to AI instead of going to doctor, right? He's not improving the college system, right? Rip out, in the modern 2020s, why do you have to have a whole year of general electives? Why don't we just focus on whatever it is we're going to learn, right? The important thing to understand here is Trump is not building a goddamn thing. All Trump is doing is destroying. And when the rest of the world looks, again, you've got options. You'll take options you don't like because they're the best option. But what happens when that option gets taken off the table? And that's where I get concerned. I get 277,000 Chinese students. So 277,000 students have to find somewhere else to go. So instead of coming here to the United States, instead of understanding how the United States works, instead of getting a little that mainline American Big Mac or whatever else, they'll be going to other places. And again, if you look at it with China, what is it? They say China's trade is 19% with the United States, 81% with the rest of the world. It seems like basic math. Seems like they can start ignoring the United States. Again, as an American, I look at the business and I look at the math, and if I was going to say who can ignore who, seems like those numbers are working ever closer to be on China's side. And for these kinds of just abjectly racist, senile policies, where does that put us in 50 years? Right? Because that's one of the big things with the United States is our systems are not good. Most people don't argue that our systems are good, but our systems are our systems, right? We are a country of the rule of law, right? If you go to do business in China, if you go to do business with China, the problem is that the Chinese Communist Party can destroy your company based off of a whim that you do not even understand. right? That's what we've been told, right? Chinese jackbooted stormtroopers can break into your apartment in China, take you in the middle of the night into a detention facility. People will not know what happened to you. You will not know why you're there, and you have no idea how you can get out of the situation. Right? If they decide that they don't like your business, overnight your business can be destroyed. Right? The argument isn't bald eagles or Katy Perry or I don't know, Statue of Liberty or whatever out of the United States. The real argument is that we have a rule of law, that you come here and that crap won't happen, or at least we'll have well documented why it's happening to you. Again, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Due process of law. Been a long time since I got my degree. All right, your rights or whatever can only be taken away from you under due process of law. And what we're saying is this is not due process of law. This is the senile diktats of an idiot president. And who the fuck can trust that? So yeah, I don't know. I think about that with the in Costa Rica, Meze Verde. I think it's called Meze Verde. Anyways, you go to Meze Verde, and there's all these Quakers there. And the Quakers are there because during the Vietnam War, the Quakers are pacifists, so they did not believe in war. America got into yet another stupid war, and so they went to Costa Rica. Right? Their religious beliefs had it, so they did not want to be part of a country that was waging war to slaughter brown people because of God knows why. And so with that, they went to Costa Rica. And I always wonder about that. I always wonder sometimes, especially in the modern world, is the most American thing that you could possibly do be to leave America? And again, as a technology professional, it's like, oh, ha, ha, oh, you're a libtard. You're a blue-haired, woke libtard. But think about it. I mean, when you look at the technology, when you look at the products that you use, where is this stuff being designed? Where is this stuff being innovated? Where is this stuff being created? Right? Is it still the United States? If you took China, if China disappeared tomorrow, or the United States disappeared tomorrow, which would make it harder to actually be able to get products? And so again, that's where I talk about, like with robots, again, with the zips in Rwanda, a lot of the other robots stuff that's been going on. There's a lot of innovative, interesting things, again, happening in other parts of the world. You talk about like mobile commerce, so not even e-commerce, but with mobile devices and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff going around the world. There's a lot of fascinating, interesting things that are happening in the rest of the world. And the path that we are now on doesn't look like it's the road to that future. And so if you're an American or not an American and you're passionate about technology, anyways, let's just say you are. Let's just pretend you are. There's a real question if the United States is really the place that you want to be. Where will the next Silicon Valley be? Right? Silicon Valley wasn't always Silicon Valley. Shenzhen province wasn't always Shenzhen province. Right? An interesting thing to be considering right now, because remember, it's all gambles. It's all bets. It's all bets, right? You can do everything right. You can do everything. You can bust your ass. You can save your money. You can get into Harvard, and some senile fat fuck in the White House can destroy your dreams because he has a little bit of goddamn indigestion. Right? You bet on Harvard. Betting on Harvard as an international student seems like a safe damn bet. I'll be like, well, I'd take that bet. So you're really smart and you're really dedicated and you have enough money and you got into Harvard. It's like, well, I mean, there could be drawback, but it'd be really hard to see a drawback for why you should have gone to Harvard. Well, we're now in a world that Trump has given us a reason that going to Harvard might not be a wise idea. So anyways, something to consider is if Silicon Valley wasn't always Silicon Valley, Shenzhen wasn't always Shenzhen, where might the next place be? Again, there's a lot of people on this planet. There's a lot of problems to solve. There's a lot of work in technology. If you have to make that bet, I don't know. Something to ponder, something to think about. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about Trump trying to kick 277,000 Chinese students out of the United States? Again, including the ones in the Chinese Communist Party. The most important thing is that they're Chinese. Can't trust those Chinese people. I'm sorry. Eli, that wasn't correct. You called them people. Eli, you can't be racist if they're not people. Anyways, what do you think about this, kicking 277,000 out? What do you think about this at scale? Again, 11.5 billion just in tuition alone, not including housing. 277,000 beds being vacant. 277,000 meals times 3 per day not being eaten. Vehicles and transit fees and everything else. What do you think about them making up 2% of the STEM population for undergraduate students and 16% for graduate students? If you're going to college right now, especially in a graduate program, look around at everybody that kind of sort of looks Asian. What would happen to your degree if all those people that kind of sort of looked Asian disappeared? Is that a risk you can take? And if anybody here, has any communication with the fucking Republicans in Congress, could you please tell them to stop pissing on themselves and pretending to be alpha dogs and actually be a goddamn human being for half fucking second and do their fucking jobs? But anyways, I don't. This isn't Republican. That's the weirdest thing about this shit. Like the crap that Trump is. Again, for anybody that's not American, you don't understand. This is not. It's not like, oh yeah, this is something. What the hell is any of this? Anyways, some things to ponder. And you better start focusing on solving problems. You better start focusing on ROI. Producing value for the people that are willing to pay you. This whole horse shit of putting apartheid in your fucking e-signatures, on the company email servers, the rest of this crap. I am telling you, when these dominoes fall, it's going to be fucking skyscraper dominoes falling. This shit. Again, this isn't at the end. This is, we're not 3.5 years into his presidency and he's now a lame duck. And so he's doing some stupid shit. But don't worry. January 20th, the new person will come in and fix it. Right? We're 4 months. We're 4 months into this presidency. And he's look at already what he's done. Focus on your mortgage. Focus on fucking feeding your goddamn kids. Because that's the thing, like when you look at economic disaster, the most amazing thing with the whole economic disaster issue, and it's so interesting, again, read Karl Marx. Oh my God! I guess it's Communist Manifesto. Anyway, yeah, I only got a little ways through this one. Capital, Volume 1. I got some of the way through that. I think it was Communist Manifesto. I actually read the Communist Manifesto. I read a book. Eli's reading wrong books. Anyways, I think a lot of the Christians would like this. A lot of the MAGA folks would actually like this. It talks about the intrinsic value of the sexes. Again, just going on a little rant here. Marx talks about the intrinsic value of the sexes and how industrial capitalism tries to destroy the intrinsic value of the sexes and treat all sexes as being the same cogs. Did you realize that Karl Marx was anti-trans? True. Just gonna put it out there. But anyways, I think it was somewhere in there, one of his things. And I was talking about that's a problem with the capitalist economic system, with depressions and essentially recessions, right? And the idea is that an overabundance of goods is actually more destructive to the society than a natural disaster. Right, so the issue is if there's a natural disaster, if there's a hurricane that comes through, or an earthquake or whatever else, and you knock down the factories, right? So you know that people wanted the goods that were being produced by the factories. You know the approximate value of the goods that you can sell if the factories existed, the profit margins and all that kind of stuff. You just have to rebuild the factories, right? So you go to the people that have some money, they all loan you some money, you rebuild the factories. Factories are up and running. The people that loaned you money, they get their dividends, and it's pretty good for society. Whether or not you like the capitalist model, that works. The issue they talk about is like when there's overabundance. When there's overabundance, the problem is that if one factory starts making money creating widgets, then somebody else goes, ooh, I'll create those same widgets. And so they'll create the widgets. But then you have competition, right? It's supposed to be a good thing. Well, then both these people have to reduce their price in order to be competitive. Well, then what happens if another company starts creating the widgets, and another company creates the widgets, another company? So what happens if there's not 2 competitors, there's 10 competitors? And then all of a sudden competition is so stiff that nobody is able to make money. And so essentially what happens is the factories start failing. Well, the issue is the factories start failing because there's not enough money. It's not profitable enough to produce those goods. So what can happen is you have an oversupply in the market from all these factories. If all these factories essentially economically collapse at about the same time, there's no cushion, there's no safety mechanism, because no investor would want to invest in any of these factories because they don't actually make any money. So by overproducing a good, you can end up collapsing the market for the good, which basically eliminates the availability of the good. Which becomes an interesting, again, we start looking at economic markets. And that's a curious thing. Like when you look at recessions and you look at depressions, the fascinating thing is the resources are still there. Resources are still there. Many times the fucking factories are still there, right? The factory that had people working at it 24/7 last month is still the same factory after the depression hits. Right? The people still need work, and people still need food, right? All of these things come together. The problem is it's the failure of the system to be able to transfer the money. It was interesting, again, during the Great Dust Bowl. One of these books. One of these fucking depressing books that I read. It's talking about that, again, with the failure of the Dust Bowl down in Kansas and all that. And again, there was an interesting point during the Great Depression where one of the things that created the Dust Bowl was overproduction of agricultural goods in the specific area of the United States. Basically, they plowed up all the soil in order to plant more and more and more stuff, right? Which was bad. That was going to cause a problem anyway. Well, the issue was, then you had the Great Depression hit. So the agricultural community was producing too much food. Then you had the Great Depression hit. And so then you had all these people that were in the cities that no longer had enough money for food. But then you had these farmers that had produced too much food. And you had these hungry people, right, over here, but they didn't have money to buy the food. So what happened is just a tremendous amount of food literally rotted in grain silos and became unusable. At the exact same time, people in cities were fucking starving because the financial systems of attaching the hungry people to the food had failed. Right? Again, it's interesting when you look at collapse of societies. they collapse in weird ways. Again, I talk about that like with the hurricane that hit here in Asheville, where like shit just slides sideways. Like you think it's going to do this or this, and it's just like it just does weird shit. And that's what I get concerned about with all of this, is it's just, again, with the Trump administration, with the tariffs, again, and it's not stopping. Again, it was like Friday. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, we're just going to do 50% tariffs on steel. Why? Who the fuck knows? Like 1 minute there's 25, 1 minute there's no tariffs, then there's 25% tariffs. Now there's going to be 50% tariffs. Why? Who the fuck knows? Again, he started screaming out China again. China, right? 1 minute there was 20% tariffs, and then 30% tariffs, and 45% tariffs, and 85% tariffs, and 145% tariffs. Now we're back down to 30% tariffs. But now he's saying, oh, they're not abiding by God knows what, so maybe it'll be more tariffs again. Like that's the thing. Like in this environment, as a decision maker, how in God's name do you make the decisions? And that's what I'm concerned about currently with our society. And just shredding our place in the world. But anywho, there we go. There was a rant. Yeah, for any Chinese people that are watching, I don't know what the fuck these people are talking about. Again, look, I get Taiwan. If I was Taiwanese, I'd be concerned about China. If I was Japan, I'd be really concerned about China, mainly because karma's a bitch. If I was India, I'd be a little concerned about China. Again, we're about to have our largest military budget in history. We're going to have $1 trillion military budget at the exact same time we're trying to pull out of NATO and these other things. I don't get this stupidity. Anyways, put your thoughts down below. Can you be racist to China, folks? Oh, only if you think they're actually people. Only if you actually think they're people. Anywho, with that, see y'all.